Ain't none of your business. They like you, they don't like you. It's not your business.
Exactly.
And I say that like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother us. It doesn't mean that sometimes it doesn't hurt our feelings. But here is the deal. Hey everybody, welcome back to Inspiring Beauty and Believers. I am your host Song, and today I have my beautiful guest with me, Tuniscia O. Hey y'all! How are you doing today? I like that you sing my name. I'm wonderful.
I only know how to sing it because every time I hear you say it, that's the way you say it. So that's how it's in my head.
It's kind of fun. It's fun. I'm great. Thank you for having me, doll.
Thank you for showing up. So we're going to jump right into this. Tell me a bit about your childhood.
Oh, gosh. My childhood was, well, I thought that it was like some others where my father passed away. I grew up with my mother, and I was told that my father passed away when I was 2 years old. So I grew up with that story. My dad is not alive. And, there's not much you can do with that. So I didn't really have the emotional, where's my dad? I wish I had a dad. Because when you're told that your dad isn't alive, you just kind of, there's nowhere to go from that, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a stepfather. I think my mother married my first stepfather at 6 or 7. He was nice. He was really, really nice to me. And they divorced. And then years passed. She was single and she remarried when I feel like I was in middle school, maybe. She remarried again. And this man I didn't know, like he was somebody I knew from Bible study, but I didn't know him at all. And so it wasn't like we're dating. It was kind of like, here's Mr. Bill from Bible study, and now we're in Las Vegas at a wedding at the Imperial Palace. You know what I mean? Like, wow. It happens, right? Because she was pregnant. And so they wanted to get married. So we got to know him. And I say we because myself and my sister, we got to know our new stepdad. That's how we got to know him. We were now living in the house with him. He didn't know too much about us, and my mother ended up having 2 more children. Well, fast forward, I was like the rebellious teenage stepdaughter that nobody probably wants to deal with. I just had my own stuff. I wasn't like this angel child. But by the age of 18, I had my daughter, and then 19, I had my son. But at 24, my mother was like, oh, by the way, you know that guy? Remember that guy I told you about who was your dad? I was just kidding. He's not really your dad. Your dad is this person. And so my father was actually alive my entire life. The person that I thought was my dad, who died when I was 2, that wasn't true. I had a father who was very much alive and well. So I was a paralegal. I'll give you the long and short of it. I was a paralegal, and I did research, found him, got his phone number. The man was like, oh yeah, I'm your dad. Most men aren't really big on taking in new kids. You know what I mean? They're like, right. No, I'm not. He was like, oh, I know your mama. Yeah, you're my child. And I was like, oh, wow. And so, yes, but it was too much for me to process, because like all this happened within 1 or 2 days. My mom that morning was like, here's your dad. I was a paralegal. One of the attorneys used to be a private investigator. He was able to find him like that. And I was on the phone with them, like at work that day, I was making phone calls. And so it happened too quickly. And I was like, this is a little bit too much for me. So I said, forget it. I'd rather just think my father had died, because in all of that abandonment and the lie, my father was more interested in that moment in connecting with my mother than me. He was trying to rekindle that flame. You get what I mean? And so I was like, let them do that. And I'm going to go over here and mind my own business. And so that was my childhood in a nutshell. That bomb dropped. But I'll say this, and we may come back to it later. What I didn't know is from 24, because I had my children by then, from 24 up until 17 years later, till about 40 or so, it definitely impacted the way I raised my kids. And it caused a big wedge and a big gap in my relationship with them. So it definitely impacted my parenting. But that's me in a nutshell.
That is a whole lot of a nutshell right there.
A big nut. I know.
And I'm glad that you actually brought up how it affected your parenting, because that is a huge thing. And when you go through parental abandonment issues, we don't realize how much of that affects the way that we react in or interact in other relationships, whether it's with our children or with other people we want to be with. It causes issues in those areas. So can you tell us a little bit about how that started to show up in your life and it caused you issues in your relationships with your children or relationships in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, because I had this strained relationship with stepfathers and I didn't grow up with a father, I never knew what it looked like for a husband and wife to have a healthy looking relationship. You know, I don't want to go into too much backstory of parts of the story that aren't mine to give,
Right.
but my mother was never in a healthy relationship. So that healthy marriages in it, so it was never demonstrated for me. She was always the provider, and so it seemed like that was a woman's job to take care of a man, you know, so to speak, even if they worked, not even like they didn't work or any of those things, but she was always that provider one way or another. So that was one. Two, I didn't realize how much I was failing as a mom. And I think that it's important to call a thing a thing. So often we don't want to say we're failing as a mom, but we can't get better unless we really realize what we're failing at. I was not thriving at certain points in my game. I was not. And so I didn't realize how much I was failing as a mother until my children became adults. And children have a way of showing them how you showed up by the way they become when they become adults. That's when you really get to see who you are. And I didn't like what I saw. And although I wanted to blame everything on the fact that their father was absent from their life, it wasn't all of that. There was a lot of me in them, a lot of the rebellion in them. And the biggest thing that I saw was, you know, just in praying and like, God, please help me. What is the problem? How am I failing? And he was like, look at how you treated your mom. And that was one of the hardest things for me to really reflect on. Like, what do you mean? I didn't lie to my kids about their father. And he was like, but you taught them how to love you as a mother by the way you loved your mother. And yes, my mother was present. No, I didn't like ignore her for 17 years. She was there, but I was real nasty. You know, I was bitter. I had a chip on my shoulder because to me, she just wasn't accountable and she didn't own up to it, which she didn't. She made excuses for why she did what she did, actually blamed me for why she made the decisions that she did. But the reality is, that was where she was. And that she gave me the best that she knew how. I can talk about this now because of the healing and the growth that's taken place. But, you know, when you're in your 20s and I'm already just trying to figure out my own life, I'm doing the best I can. But the best I could was nothing but hurt and anger and pain and resentment. And it spewed out onto my children and they gave it back to me. And I didn't like it at all. And so that was what began my whole healing journey of where I am now. Cause I was like, this sucks. And something that is very interesting, my father, my biological father, I lost touch with him because remember I stopped the story at 24. But in my 30s, I was like, I need to know if this man is really my dad. I always wondered, why am I so much more fair skinned than my siblings? Like I look like my mother, but I'm much lighter than her, right?
Right.
Why are there these habits about me that I just don't understand? I want to know who he is, because the dad that I knew, because at this point I'm like, does my mama even know who my daddy is? Because she got two men. She was in college, you know, so like, does she know? I don't know. And so I was like, I want to do a DNA test. Well, I did the DNA test when I found one of his other children, did the test. But guess what? He passed away 8 months after I got that DNA test. So I never got to meet him, never got to see him. But when all the family saw me, they were like, oh yeah, you're definitely his. You know, I was like that child. I was the child that was the secret that everybody knew about, but no one said anything. My mother had sent them pictures of me. I didn't even know, even as an adult, and never told me. I know, it's amazing. And so it was when my father was dying, he was so mean and he was so angry just with life and with his family and with the people in his life. And even though he knew he was dying, this man, Chantel, attempted to burn all of the family pictures, all of the family stuff in an incinerator. Luckily, this lady saved it. Girl, I could do a whole show on that. But he was happier burning everything than to allow anybody in his family to get any of the things, any of his mother's things. Like, that's anger. And that's pain. And when I saw what he had done, because I went to the funeral, even wrote the obituary for a man that I had never met. But when I saw that level of pain and resentment, I had to realize that there's something in him that's in me, because we still share this DNA.
Right.
And the last thing I need to do is to leave that level of pain, anger, and resentment for my children to have to clean up, because I refuse to get over, work through, heal, grow through, forgive my mom and myself and my father even for how I showed up. And that was like the biggest aha moment, seeing him pass away. That was tough. But it was the tough that I needed for me to grow up.
Yes. I am actually speechless, because I don't know if I could have, well, now, with the relationship I have with my dad now, we're very close, but if I had a similar relationship, I don't know if I would have been able to write the obituary and do all of those things. So to show the strength and the courage that you had to be able to do that is amazing. And then to really acknowledge that you were able to see what was going on inside of him and also reflect and look at yourself, that's huge too. But I wanted to go back to something that you mentioned, is that your mom did the best that she could with the knowledge that she had. And that's one of the things that I had to understand in my healing process as well. Our parents are not perfect. They have never been parents before, or parents to us by the time that we come on the scene, and nobody actually tells them how to really do this. You know, each child comes with their own personality traits and different things like that. And then our parents are going through things too that they need to heal from, in most cases. And so they do the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. And we have to give grace to them, because we will want our children to give grace to us. And I look at that each day when I'm dealing with my kids, like, am I snapping because I'm angry at them for something they did? Or is there something inside of me that I'm really upset about and I'm just taking it out on them? And right. So really acknowledging those things. But it's important for us to look at the fact that our parents don't know everything and they did the best they could. And so we have to walk in forgiveness. So that is going to lead us into self-care, since September is Self-Care Awareness Month. And I just want to say she just completed the 75-day heart challenge.
Where are my clappers?
Yeah, where are the clappers at? I am so proud of you, because I was like, woo, that takes a lot of motivation, internal motivation, to get yourself up every single day and do that. So kudos on that.
Thank you. I'll tell them what it entailed. And I ended it with a marathon. I ran a marathon. That was 26.2 miles, for those of you who don't know how far a marathon is. I do. I felt every mile.
Whew. So how did you implement, so that's a physical aspect, and physical is extremely important to self-care. How have you implemented self-care as a whole in your healing journey?
You know what? I think that this is just my opinion. I think that the word or the term self-care has been watered down. Almost like a lot of people see self-care as, I got my hair done, I got my nails done, that's self-care. To me, that's not self-care. This is me, Tuniscia speaking. That's like basic maintenance. You want to look a certain way, just keep yourself together. You know what I mean? Because you can have that same impact, but everybody processes it differently. And I think that because so much emphasis has been put on the external, and my concern with that is, there's a saying, if you want to keep something from a Black person, put it in a book. Because for so many years, we as Black people spend every dime on our body. Every single dime is spent on our external selves. You know what I mean? Like what we look like, and we don't care enough about our inside. So for me, self-care is picking up a book and looking at my wounds. Self-care is, why am I not showing up the way I should show up? to something to get what I want? Why don't I have what I want? I don't have it because I don't want it bad enough. But why don't I want it bad enough? Because I'm not listening to the fact that the voices or the stories that I'm telling myself in my mind don't reflect what it is I say that I want, or I say that I want something, but my energy is attracting something else. And why is that happening? Or also paying attention to, we've always done it this way as a family. Yep. But do your family members have what they want? So for me, self-care begins with what's inside my mind. What am I thinking? What am I meditating on? What am I spending my time doing? And self-care is not going to Christmas dinner when I know it's going to be a whole bunch of drama and family members, and staying myself at home and being okay with everybody being annoyed because that ain't none of my business. Like, that's self-care to me. Self-care is protecting my energy and making sure I'm good. I'm good. Self-care is me not worrying about permission from every single person to unleash my greatness, my brilliance, and be authentically who I am. Self-care is me knowing that everybody's not coming on this journey with me, but the people that I need will be there when I get there. And so those are the things that I would say that I build when it comes to self-care for me. Self-care is not, can I get my eyebrows done? Because, girl, at this point with COVID, I probably braid them together. I could, but I won't. But I could do it. I'll be sure, like, get one, and I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, self-care is knowing that I'm more than my one eyebrow that I might have by the time COVID is over. All jokes aside, it's just being confident in who we are. And I'm not knocking people who want to get their hair done. I'm not. But when your self-care impedes on the fact that you can't pay rent, when your self-care impedes on the fact that you can't buy the house that you keep saying that you want, when you can't buy the groceries that you need because you like, I deserve it. What you deserve is to have peace of mind and teach your children how to do things right by the way that you do them, how you live life. See, that's self-care to me. That's my definition of it. It's more than the physical or buying yourself a bag. And I got nice things. Don't knock. I don't want anybody thinking like she don't have enough. That's why she doesn't know. I do know, but I feel like self-care is balance. It's balancing out all of the things. It's your health and wellness. It is getting your mind completely right. It's going into the darkest places of your soul and shedding light in order to heal the areas that you don't want anybody to know about. It's accepting that your past happened. It happened and you can't do anything about it. So you got to get to the so what, now what? It's accepting the fact that your mama did the best she could. Your daddy did the best that they could. And your grandma is praying for you, but she still can't change you. And so those are the things that I put as self-care.
Yes. I don't like snappers, so I'm a snap. That is so good. And that is one of the things that I've been stressing all month, that it's not just about your physical aspect. It's about you dealing with what's on the inside. That is the uttermost most important thing that you can do for your self-care, because once you heal what's on the inside, then that's what's going to show up on the outside.
Exactly.
And so, and I knew you were going to hit on that's none of my business. That's actually the whole thing. I was like, I just got to get her to how self-care is focusing on my business, not everybody else's business.
Ain't none of your business. They like you, they don't like you. It's not your business. Exactly. And I say that like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't bother us. It doesn't mean that sometimes it doesn't hurt our feelings. But here is the deal. And why I tell you that it's none of your business, because you can't change them. How many times have you gone around, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience as well, and you have done everything in your power to make somebody happy. You bought exactly what you thought they wanted. You did it the exact way you thought they wanted, and they're still not happy. They're not grateful because you can't bring them that happiness, right? And so when people come to me and they say, oh my gosh, Tuniscia, I love you. I'm happy to hear that, but I know that you're not really loving me per se. You're loving whatever feelings, emotions that I'm evoking in you when I'm speaking, when I'm on a live, when I'm coaching, when I'm training, when I'm sharing, when I'm doing something that is resonating in you. That's what you like in me. To the same degree, I give the same value of, I can't stand you. I understand. That's because there's something that I am igniting in you, in the mirror within yourself, that you have not faced for you, that is bothering you. I'm a reflection of the things you love, and I'm also a reflection of the things you may dislike within yourself. But whatever reflection it is you see in the mirror, it's none of my business. That's the way you see it. You take 3 people, one thing happens, all three of them will come out with something different. One person's offended. The other person is like, I didn't even hear them because they were on FaceTime. And the other person is like, I didn't even think it was that bad. Same exact situation, but it's all a reflection of the mirror that they see inside of them. And therefore, when we get to a place of, that ain't my business, I don't know what to tell you. My daughter, Ma, you're so annoying. I know, right? I know. Like, she's 25. I know. And they will talk about me while I'm standing right there. My husband, daughter, they'll be like, but you know how she is. You know, she just, and I'll be like, I'm glad everybody's talking like I'm not standing right here, you know, and there may have been a time where I'm like offended, but my daughter's like, well, would you rather us talk about you when you're not here? I'm like, well, maybe you just don't need to talk about me at all. That's an option, you know, and we can all laugh about it. But when you get to a place where you, one, realize things aren't your business, but more importantly, when you identify what your weaknesses are and where you failed in life and what you didn't do right, but you're willing to get better, no one can hold that over your head. No one can come to me to tell me what I did wrong because I already know. I already know where I failed. I know my weaknesses. And so when you accept you and all of your brilliance and all of your brokenness and all of whatever it is that you come packaged with, nobody can hold that against you. You're like, yeah, I know that was not my best day. Thank God for God's grace. And keep it moving.
Yes.
That's it.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. So really, that you summed up everything that I wanted to end this month with about self-care, hitting on the point that we have to work on ourselves and not be focused on what everybody else is doing or how other people are perceiving us, because that's none of our business. And just work on us, get our whole life together so that we can walk out and do the purpose that we were created for. So in closing, do you have any last words that you would share with my audience?
You know what? Yes, I actually would. Someone sent me something and it's on procrastination. You know, when it comes to self-care and when it comes to what it is we want, we need, we desire, it really ultimately comes down to our procrastination. We've put it off. It's not as important as we think. And so I want to give the person the credit because this came off of Oracle of Your Soul, at Oracle of Your Soul. I don't even know who they are. Someone sent this to me, but that's who they are on IG. But it reads, I got a different definition of procrastination yesterday that made me sit up. Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God owes you another opportunity to do what you had time to do. It hit me differently. I'm going to read what procrastination is one more time. And I'm reading this again because as we talk about self-care, if you're not in a place where you want your self-care and you stop or don't fulfill whatever it is God has told you to do, whatever part of your journey that you know you need to, you refuse to go walk because you're going to sweat out your perm, but you're willing to die pretty and leave your children motherless or fatherless because you don't want to be uncomfortable. You're not willing to face the fears and you're willing to leave your children to have to face and fight the battles that you didn't show up for, even though you knew it was you who needed to. These are all coming under procrastination. That's the bottom line. So procrastination, and this is not the English dictionary version. This is this particular person's revelation of what, because they'd be like, that is not what procrastination means. I know. But feel it. If the shoe fits, go ahead, let's wear it. Yeah. Procrastination is the arrogant assumption that God owes you another opportunity to do what you had time to do. He said it hit him different. And that's just it. Are you going to carry that arrogance and that pride that you can do it your way? You don't need to change. You don't need to grow. You don't need to fix it. Everybody just take you how you are. Well, they should take you how they are, but when deciding if they want to take you how they are, they also get to decide if they want to put you over to the side and don't want to rock with you anymore. You have to grow. And procrastination is the reason why self-care isn't at the forefront of everyone's life, because they're too busy focusing on other people's approval, waiting for permission to do it, looking for everyone else to be excited and cheer them on. And you're going to have to do it for yourself. So, and forgive. You know, I'm a forgiveness coach. And so forgive is the biggest thing that you have to work through, especially as it pertains to procrastination. But it's what I got.
Yes. So go ahead and give the people your information, how they can connect with you on this forgiveness journey.
Forgiveness. You can find me on IG, forgivenesslifestyle.com, Facebook, Tuniscia O. My name will be in there, so you'll get to see how that's spelled. My mom got real fancy with the spelling of my name. But you can always find me at forgivenesslifestyle.com, and I'm here for you. Forgiveness is the key. What do you have to do? You just accept, forgive, heal, and make the decision to grow.
All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining us on this episode. And stay tuned, because we are going to keep on going on this journey of healing, of growth, of forgiveness, so that we can all become exactly who we were called to be and walk in that purpose. I love you guys so much. Till next time.
Ciao.